Hello, everybody. This is Finalizing, and in today's episode, we are going to start modding. In episode 1, you extracted the game files, yeah? If not, you better go back and do it, because you're going to need it for this. And then in episode 2, obviously, you set up Blender, which, if you're following my video and my video series, should look roughly like what's on my screen here. You might have a different preference as to how your UI layout is. If you're just starting out, it's probably easiest if you make sure that you're set up just like I am. That way you can follow along with me rather easily. If you want to go back to episode 2 and do that real quick, go ahead and do so. All set? Good. Let's go ahead and get started, guys. All right, everybody, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and get started with modding. Now, I'm going to do something that you probably didn't see coming, and I'm going to guide you guys through this as well. We are going to create a model from scratch, from nothing. This screen here. I'm not going to import anything. We're not going to pull in some other accessory and just make a simple edit. We're going to get you guys started right. We are going to be importing an image and making a mod from that. So let me go ahead and take a look in my pictures here. I have this ellipsis.png. I'm going to bring that into Blender here in a moment. If you're set up kind of like I am, you should have activated images as planes as an option in your menu here. If not, you'll need to refer back to video number 2 because images as planes is not activated by default with Blender. So you got a fresh install of Blender and you don't have images as planes, you're going to want to go back to video 2 and see how to set this up. If you do have this though, you're good to go. Let's go ahead and move to the next step. File, import, images as planes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate. I'm copying from my folder and I'm just going to paste the path right to my image, and I want this ellipsis.png right here, so we are going to click that and open it. The reason why I chose this particular image for my video, on the interior of my truck in real life, I have this wall scroll. Try this picture. This wall scroll right here set up on the back of my Cascadia, and so that's what this first project of yours is going to be. If you follow along, we're basically going to be creating a wall scroll. It doesn't matter what image you use. Just use whatever image you like. Just use whatever image you like and you'll be okay, because you'll be able to follow along perfectly with this tutorial no matter what image you use. It could be a JPEG, it could be a PNG, it could be whatever. The image format does matter later, but we are going to be converting your image to that format momentarily. With this said, we're going to be creating this wall scroll here. Let me close this and I'm going to close that. So here's my picture. It looks a bit flickery or whatever, but that's going to be going away here momentarily. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of convert this to be an image that is usable by the game. I'm going to open up my Photoshop. You can use whatever image editor you like, by the way, guys. I'm going to pull this ellipsis.png into my image editor. I can't really talk you through exactly what to do with the image editor because chances are you're using GIMP or paint.net or something else, which is just fine. The important part is the final product, okay? So what I need to do is I need to convert this to a width and height that is compatible with DDS textures for the game. In this case, I'm going to go 2048 by 1024. 2048 by 1024. That kind of skews and changes the shape, right? Don't worry, because we already imported the image as it is in the game. What we did, or what Blender did, or in the game. I don't know why I said in the game. Into Blender. You now have this physical mesh that is this size no matter what. It's going to remain this size and this proportion. So don't worry about how your image is stretched here. Now I'm going to save this as a targa, and I already have an ellipsis texture here, so I'm just going to overwrite it because I tried to shoot this video once already and I had audio issues. So this is actually my second attempt. Now I have saved that image. What I need to do now is I'm going to come back to Blender and I need to set my SES project base path. The good news is we just imported an image, so we didn't do anything that would affect our base. So on the right side here, SCS project base path, I'm going to click the folder and I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to come into my tutorial series. So I'm going to create a new episode 3 folder because we're on episode 3. I'm going to do a folder in here called 01 initial because it's going to be my first run. There's a purpose for this. Trust me. You do not have to do it like I just did it. Create your work folder however you want it. So I'm going to select that as my directory. In that directory, which I'm going to now navigate to it, I'm going to copy the path out of here and hit cancel. Then I'm going to open a folder and just paste. And now here's the folder. What I need to do is create a new folder called vehicle. And then, I can't remember exactly. So we're going to reference our ATS base. Now, if you'll recall, in episode 1, I also extracted the DLC for DLC toys while I was showing you. Since I'm basically making a toy, I'm going to reference that because there's going to be a lot less files to deal with. So we got vehicle, truck. So I'm going to create a new folder. Call it truck, and then upgrade, and then interior decors. I'm not going to type all that. I'm going to copy and paste. So new folder and then paste the text interior decors, and this is back panel. This is the flag for the back panel, so we're gonna go new folder back panel, and that's it. What SCS does is they just threw all their models and textures into this one folder. I kind of don't like that. I'm kind of a stickler for having textures in their own folder. I'm gonna make a new folder here called Bay Textures. And this is going to hold the textures for any scrolls that I make. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that Alyssa's texture Targa and I'm going to paste it there. So now we have this Alyssa's Targa ready to go. So I can minimize that. Now, what I'm going to do back here in Blender with the plane selected, on the right side, we're going to click on the Material Properties tab. That's the little red ball here toward the bottom. On that, I've already got a material created called Lysis, but it's got a capital E. I'm going to just retype that. Actually, I'm going to call it WS_ELESIS. Because I actually plan on making multiple wall scrolls so that I can, maybe import some anime wall scrolls or whatever. And I'm going to prefix all of the work with that with WS_, WS for wall scroll. So WS_Lysis is the new name of my material. I'm going to make it a diff.spec. So here under SCS material, under shader presets here, we're going to click this pull down menu, and on the left side here is diff.spec. Yours may be different depending on the resolution of the computer that you're on, how this is arranged, but you're looking for diff.spec. So I'm going to click on that. Now my thing turned all black. Oh no, what are we going to do? That's actually normal. Don't panic. We're good still. You'll notice here that it says vertex color layers are missing. Before I add those vertex colors, I'm going to come up here to object data properties just to show you for reference. You don't have to click up here and look at anything every time you do this. I'm just showing you for reference. There's a window here called color attributes, and this is where our vertex colors are going to go. Right now it's blank. So if I come back here and I click add vertex colors to all, that warning disappears. And now you have two settings here under color attributes, Col and Col Alpha. The reason why I feel it important to show this to you is there have been times where I have imported something from somebody else's mod, or even one of my own mods that's older and more outdated, and I get a warning saying, hey, the vertex colors are version 52, we were expecting 53 or something like that. If that ever happens to you, all you have to do is come here and delete these, hitting the minus key. We can delete them, and then when you go back to materials, you're going to have this vertex colors missing again. Add vertex colors to all and re-export, and that's fixed. That's why I wanted to kind of digress and show that to you. So we've added the vertex colors. Now I'm going to go down here to where it says material textures, and under base we're going to click next to mapping. There's this triangle with an exclamation mark, and I'm going to click there, and there's a UV map. I'm going to click that. So right now it'll say UV map. That is fine. Now under texture, I'm going to click this, and under 01 initial, we're going to go vehicle, truck, upgrade, interior decors, back panel, Bay textures, and look, there's the Targa that I brought in. So if I double click that, boom. Now we have, and it's not shimmering like it was before. You know how it was like doing all that shimmering before? It does look blurry if I zoom out. that's actually okay because we haven't created mip maps for this yet. That will be done when we export. It's supposed to be a wall scroll, right? Why does it look like a sheet of metal? It's so shiny. That's not a problem either. There's some things that we can do in order to kind of straighten this out. So what I'm going to do, first off, I'm going to create the TOBJ for it. Between your texture and mapping, there's this little piece of paper with a plus symbol. Click that. Then we're going to pull down the settings. This part is important. Guys, please do not forget this part I'm about to tell you. When you create your TOBJ, it is absolutely crucial that you hit U repeat and V repeat. U repeat, V repeat. TS normal is not needed, neither is the color space linear, but U repeat and V repeat is needed. Otherwise, there's a chance that in-game, even though this looks okay in Blender, in-game, your stuff may be kind of messed up. Now let's fix this thing to look like a wall scroll. Specular. So if I go above where we were just working, under material attributes, you're going to see these two white bars here. One's diffuse, one's specular. I'm going to click on specular, and this little window with this round color wheel is going to pop up. There are two methods to do what I'm about to do. I'm going to show you both because one may be easier for you than the other. You can either use your mouse and drag the specular down on this bar on the right till it's all the way black. And look, our wall scroll no longer looks shiny like it's a piece of metal. Now it looks like something is more map-based. The other option is if we click on the specular, this V, there's H, S, and V. The V is set to 1.0. I'm going to click it, and I'm just going to type 0 and hit enter, and it instantly went to 0. So you could do it either way. To me, they're both about the same amount of work, so it just I guess it just depends on the mood. I do it both ways, honestly. It just depends on what mood I'm in at the time. Just kind of subconsciously do one or the other. There's only one thing missing from this wall scroll. If you look really close, you'll see the colors are nice and solid, aren't they? This thing's supposed to be on fabric. How the hell am I going to make it appear like it's on fabric? That's not a problem. That's where the internet comes in. What we're going to do, I'm going to search the internet for, let's go for fabric normal texture. Fabric normal, whoops, I typed fabrics with an X. Fabric normal texture. And then I'm going to click the images tab, and we're going to look through these to see if something strikes our fancy. Actually, the first one that came up, it looks actually really good. I want something larger though. Let's go size large, so that we get that detail that we're looking for. That's got a big watermark in the center. Oh, here we go. This actually looks really good. Let's open image in new tab. Let's see how big this really is. Oh, it is. It is big. I don't see a watermark anywhere on here either. Ah, this is perfect. All right, so I'm gonna grab this. You could grab whatever strikes your happy fancy. So now I'm gonna minimize that. I'm gonna go to my Photoshop, and I'm gonna take that fabric pattern and pull it into my image program here. Let's press Control-Alt-I. Oh, it's already 2048 by 2048, so it's already fit for a DDS file. That's perfect. So I'm going to save this as ELESIS_texture_in. I'm adding the in because that's going to tell me that this is a normal. Again, I'm going to save it as a Targa, 32 bits per pixel. And then I'm going to come back over to where my ELESIS texture is. By the way, in the ELESIS texture, you'll notice there's a TOBJ here now. Remember when we hit that plus sign earlier to create the TOBJ? There it is. I'm going to do the same thing with the in texture. So we're going to come back to Blender. At the top here, I'm going to click PSN Map UV. And that's going to make the wall scroll appear kind of darker. It's kind of weird. I don't know why. For some reason, the SCS world sees anything that has a bump map as being darker. I'm sitting here shrugging. I don't know. If we scroll down, you'll see we have a new entry under material textures in map. We're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to navigate instead to the normal file and apply that normal. And I'm going to go ahead and create the TOBJ for it. And boom, looks good, right? No, it looks like shit. There's a reason for that. It's the resolution and the way the bumps are on that normal file. So it's making it look like the bumps are just way too huge. So let's show you how to fix that. The first thing we're going to do, because of the type of change I'm about to make, I'm going to go into this little green thing here, the object data properties, and I'm going to come up here to UV maps, and I'm going to hit the plus symbol. Now we have a UV map.001. This is going to be critical for the next phase. Let me go back to material properties. What I'm going to do is under nmap, I'm going to select that UV map.001 as my UV map. Now, nothing changed over here because it's the same UV map, but we're about to change that. At the top of your Blender, we're going to select UV editing in the very top menu, UV editing, and that's going to bring up this window right here. Just like we do in the our main layout over here, I can hit the Z key and select a material preview. Then I'm going to hit the number 5 on my numpad, and that puts me into 2D mode, and I'm going to hit 7. So I hit the 5 on my numpad key and the 7. Now I'm looking at it like this, and I'm going to kind of zoom in on this solid white here because I'm going to use this for the reference. So now what I'm going to do over here, if your resolution is like mine, you don't see this whole menu here. There's a trick to this. I'm going to hover over like where it says here the Alyssa's texture. I'm going to hold my middle mouse button down, and I'm going to drag left. There's actually more menu here than it looks like. I don't know why they don't just have it in rows or whatever, but it's just the way that Blender works. So middle mouse button and drag left until you see this, and UVMap.001 is indeed the one that we're editing. So while having a mouse cursor over this side that I'm zooming on, if you have the mouse cursor over here and hit the A key, this whole thing's going to turn orange. Now I'm going to show you this. This is basically the texture is stretched to all of this. By the way, it shows my banner, right? But it doesn't matter because we're on UVMap.001. Trust me on this. I'm going to hit the S key. By the way, you'll notice before I do that, you'll notice my mouse cursor, I kind of brought it out to the outside edge. That's because the further away from the center point your mouse is, the more smooth it is for you to control. So if I hit the S key with my mouse cursor practically centered, if I barely bump the mouse, look how exaggerative it looks. But if I bring my mouse cursor out here and hit S, it's a lot more smoother of a transition. What I'm going to do is with my mouse cursor about in the area where I'm at now, I'm going to hit the S. If you shrink it down, notice the bumps get larger, right? Well, we don't want that. That's opposite. So we're going to actually go off the edges. And we're going to drag this. We're going to keep dragging until it looks about like what I want. It's getting there. It's getting right about there. I like that. That looks like fabric right there. Doesn't it? That looks good. And that's about the scale of the fabric on my wall scroll too. Now you'll notice if I zoom out over here, I'm using the mouse wheel to do so, by the way, that this is way larger than the texture, right? But you'll notice that it is smoothly covering everything over here. The reason for that is that setting that we did in the Targa file, that U repeat V repeat. It's allowing the texture to repeat itself. If the texture is a different size than your mesh for the UV mapping, it'll repeat all over the scroll. So everywhere on here, all the light colors, we can see that it looks like this thing is made with fabric. So that is actually done. We don't have to do anything over here anymore. We just got to click the layout. And even in the 2D mode, we can now see that we have the bump map, which is making our texture look like it's kind of got this 3D fabric going to it. Isn't that cool? Not done yet. We're going to get even more creative, guys. I'm going to, once again, come over here to Photoshop. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to make it 64 by 64. By the way, for the purposes of what I'm doing, you can actually make this a lot smaller than you want, but I like the 64 by 64 because it's just, whoa, what happened? I have no idea what happened there. Wow, I don't know why that went to 1020. 64 by 64. There it is. I got this little square. It's small enough to be great on the game performance, big enough to where I can tell what color it is. I'm going to come over to my color palette, which is black, but I'm going to drag the black up just a bit to be more like an off black. You know, just a really, 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 really dark gray. And then I'm going to take my paint bucket tool and paint that in. Now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call this WS_plastic. The reason why I'm kind of diverting from my naming convention for Alyssa's is because this file I'm going to share across all wall scrolls that I make in the future. So this is going to be unique to actually that normal map. I should have made that WS normal. It's not too late to do that though. It actually isn't. And I'll show you how to do that here in just a second. So I'm going to save this as a Targa, 32 bits per pixel. And then I'll take that plastic and we're going to copy it into my folder here. Now, what I'm going to do, since I am changing my mind that the normal map isn't going to be just for Alyssa's, it's going to be for all my wall scrolls, I'm going to delete the TOBJ for it. And I'm just going to rename the file WS normal. So now I have a WS plastic and a WS normal. Let me go back into Blender here. And now this line turns red because now it's like, dude, where'd your file go? No problem. I'm going to hit the folder. We're going to re-navigate in and we're going to select the WS normal, click to create the TOBJ, U repeat, V repeat, TOBJ created it. And now we're back to where we were, but now we're using the WS normal. So now I can share that normal and that plastic on any of my future wall scrolls. Well, where am I going to apply the plastic, you're asking? Right? We're about to do that. We're going to add up here at the top, just under the SES Tools menu, it is a button called Add, and we're going to go to Mesh. And then we're going to select Cylinder. Add Mesh Cylinder. All right, this cylinder, if we want to, we can control down here. There's this little button. We can actually control how many verts this thing has. Right now it's set at 52. I could set it wherever I want. But the problem is, if I add more verts, you know, going up here to 100 or whatever, right now I'm at like 200. Look how nice and round that is. It looks pretty, right? Looks like a really good cylinder. But the more verts you have, the more it hits your game on performance. Less is better when it comes to verts. You want to go absolutely as small as possible without it looking like trash. So obviously 3's a bit too small. That doesn't look like a cylinder, does it? No. 3's as small as you can go on a cylinder, which makes it look like a freaking triangle instead. 4 obviously turns it into a cube. 5, we get like this pentagon type design here. That's a hexagon. And then, you know, you could just keep going. We're just going to put it back at the 32 that it was at, because to me, that's round enough to be seen as such in the game. It's low enough poly to be good on performance. So we'll just leave it at 32. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click out there, get rid of that window, and I reselect the cylinder. I'm going to hit the tab key and the A key. What the tab key did was it put us in an edit mode, and you'll know you're in edit mode if in the upper left here it says edit mode. If you hit the tab key again, you go into object mode. I want to be in edit mode for this. So in edit mode, I'm going to hit the R key on my keyboard. Now R is for rotate, and I can rotate this thing however the heck I want. It's really hard to precisely rotate it, right? See, as I move my mouse around, it's like going all kinds of weird angles and doing whatever. So I'm going to hit the escape key, which is going to cancel that. You'll notice these lines on the grid. There's this red one going this way. There's a green one going this way. The green in the SCS world, as far as positioning, is front to back. So if you imported a truck into the scene, it would be going along the green line from the front to the rear. The red line goes side to side on most SCS vehicles. And then a line that's not shown here, but you can see a reference to up here, is this blue one. That's the Z. Z is up and down. So the name of the direction, the name of the axis is X is side to side, Y is front to back, and Z is up and down as far as SCS positioning. All right. So I want to rotate this on this green line, right? Because the wall scrolls kind of along the red line. So I'm going to hit R and I'm going to hit Y, because Y is the green line. Now I can drag the mouse and I can rotate this thing around the green line as much as I want. But again, it's really hard to do it with precision, yeah? I'm gonna hit escape again to cancel. There's one more thing we could do to take it to one more step of precision. I'm gonna hit R, I'm gonna hit Y, then on my numpad, I'm gonna type 90 and hit enter. That pops up this window down here that confirms that I have rotated this 90 degrees. If for some reason, I'm gonna hit Control Z and undo this. If for some reason, let's say I make a typo, RY80. Let's say I hit the 8 instead of the 9 and I notice, oh shit, it's still kind of crooked. I made a typo, right? It's showing me that it is 80 degrees instead of 90 degrees. Well, since I haven't clicked out here, if I click anywhere out here, that window is going to go away. And then I would have to press Control Z to undo it and redo it again. But since this window is here, I'm going to just click in it and type 90 and hit enter. And that's going to finalize it to 90 degrees. Now I can click out here and boom, our cylinder is 90 degrees. Very cool, right? We have this all set up. I'm going to hit the A key to select all the verts again because somehow they got unselected. I don't know how I did that. Now I'm going to go on to my next thing, which is sizing. Okay. I'm going to hit, again, I'm going to put my mouse cursor kind of away from this thing for a smoother transition. And I'm going to hit the S key, S for size. Most of the keys for these actions are very self-explanatory. R for rotate, S for size, G for grab. I'll show you G for grab later on. We will be using that a lot. I hit S for size, and I'm going to slowly drag the mouse inward here until it gets kind of small. Now, it's still a bit big, but it's getting very small for us. So I'm going to click to complete out of it. And then I'm going to zoom in using a mouse wheel. So we got this kind of size down. It's still a bit on a big size, but now is where we're going to use the G command. Grab G. Now I can grab G and it moves it all around, right? But remember the problem we had before? It's not really precise. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to hit G and Y. And I'm going to drag this along the green line until it's kind of centered on the edge of my wall scroll. Basically, I want the wall scroll to kind of be in the middle of this thing. So G, Y, right there. That ought to do it. It's still a bit big, so I'm going to size it down some more. That looks good right there. I'm actually, actually, that looks a little too small. So I'm going to hit S and I'm going to drag it outward to right there. That's better. Yeah, that looks better. This is now going to become one of the plastic tubes that these wall scrolls ship with in order to hold its shape. It's kind of not the width of the wall scroll, is it? We need to change that. We are at an advantage in this case because this thing is perfectly centered on the green line. It's going to go along the red line. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to hit S again, but this time I'm going to hit X. S as in Sierra, X as in X-ray, and now you see that extra red line along my model? Now I can drag my mouse. The width and height are staying the same, but now I'm basically making it longer to right about there. Now I'm gonna do the 2D mode again, 5, 7. And I'm gonna come down here. I'm gonna get kind of closer to this thing. And I'm gonna again hit S, X, and I'm gonna make this thing roughly just a millimeter or two larger than the wall scroll. Just a millimeter or two. Now that we have that, I'm going to kind of zoom out here. It looks good. Dimension wise, it looks great. It looks good size wise. With it still in edit mode, I'm still in edit mode. I'm going to hit Shift D. Then I'm going to hit escape. Shift D just duplicated all those verts. I'm going to hit the G key and the Y key and check it out. We've duplicated our tube. Now, there's another way you could duplicate as well. We could have duplicated from object mode and it would have made another object. However, by using this method that I just did, what this does is makes it easier for me to apply materials to one item. Now, I don't know how centered I am on this because I don't have the reference from the link from earlier. That's not a problem. I'm going to hit Z and go to wireframe mode. And then I'm going to come down here to where I can kind of see the corner of the wall scroll right here, this black L. I'm going to go G, Y, and I'm going to slide this so it's about centered. There it is. So I'm going to go back to material preview and I'm going to hit the tab. I want to come out of edit mode and I'm going to click anywhere to unselect, by the way, to unselect. Just click anywhere off of an object. Just click out here in the open gray and it will unselect. Now we have our wall scroll pretty much made. There's one more thing I want to do. There's going to be one final detail. I'm going to take the two tubes that we did. Now I'm in object mode and I'm going to hit Shift D and escape. Now I have a cylinder.001. I have duplicated both rods. I'm going to press Control Z. You don't have to do this. Don't do the Control Z thing like I did. Just hang out for a second because I want to show you something. Remember how I've been saying hit Shift D and then hit escape right away? Watch what happens if I just hit Shift D. If I hit Shift D and I don't hit escape, it duplicates it, but it keeps attached to my mouse. So now if I accidentally hit my mouse after duplicating it, oh my God, it's like way out of whack. But if you do that, you hit escape and it'll snap back. As long as you don't left click, it will snap back. Now we have our cylinder. That's why I tell you hit escape when you're duplicating an item that you want to keep precision maneuvers on. Okay, so with this, I'm going to tab, hit A to select both rods. I've tabbed into edit mode. I'm in edit mode. Now I've got both rods selected, and now I'm going to hit SX, and I'm going to shrink them. I'm going to zoom in here, SX, shrink to about right there. And then I'm going to GX. I'm going to move these to the end. I'm going to go into 2D mode. Remember to shortcut 5 and 7 to look down from the top. GX. And I'm going to put this so that the caps are right against the edge of the wall scroll. I'm going to hit the 3 key on my numpad, and then now I have to zoom out. Now I'm looking at things from the side. In 2D mode, 7 is from the top, 3 is from the side. 1, by the way, looks from the front and the back. Okay, so 7, you're looking down the Z-axis. 1, you're looking along the Y-axis, and X along this axis. Now, if you forget what axis you're looking down, you see this indicator up here in the upper right? That'll show you. So if I hit 7, I'm basically, the camera is now lined on the Z, so you're looking up and down. If I hit the 1, it's on the green line, so it's looking forward and back. You're basically looking at either the nose of your truck or trailer or at the tail of your truck or trailer. And the 3 key looks down the X-axis. Just to kind of throw in here, let's say that I'm looking at a truck right now, and I hit 1 because I want to look at the nose of the truck, but for some reason I'm looking at the tail. I'm looking at the mud flaps and not the grill. To look in the opposite direction along the same axis, use the control key. 7, I'm looking at the top of my wall scroll, right? What happens if I hit control 7? Now I'm underneath the wall scroll looking out. Now, since the wall scroll doesn't have an image back here, we're looking right through it. And then if I hit 7, it comes back to the top. Same with, you remember, I've got these caps on this end, right? I hit the 1 key. If I hit control 1, now we're looking at the other side. Same thing, 3. You see how, I'm looking at this section along here. Control 3, now I'm on the other side. I'm looking at the same rod, but I'm looking at it from the other side. I'm going to go into wireframe mode, and you see how I have both of these caps selected? I'm just going to drag with the mouse cursor and select 1. So the right side should be black. This side should be orange. What I'm going to do is I want to size this cap just a bit. I want it just to be slightly larger than my cylinder. So I'm going to size it up a bit. And that brought the scale X, Y, and Z to 1.120. I'm going to copy that. Now, when I clicked on it to copy, it was more precise, 1.11978. That's fine. Whatever. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to click off of that. I'm going to drag over to the other cap. I'm going to select it, hit S. It doesn't matter what size I make it, just click and this will come up. I'm going to paste that number into all 3 of these fields here, and then I'll click off. Now both caps are the same size. Now I'm going to select all again, and I'm going to look from the top because I resized it and it brought it into the wall scroll a bit. That's not a problem. GX, drag it back out to the edge, and boom. So now I have what looks like caps on the end of my wall scroll. Sweet, right? I'm going to Shift D, escape, GX. Now I've got another set of caps. Guess where I'm putting them? Yep, on the other end. So let's zoom in here. GX and put it right against the fabric. And boom. Now if I hit Z and go into material preview, I'm going to come out of edit mode and unselect everything. And now we have, look how nice those caps look. Looks like the caps on the end of a wall scroll, right? Very good. Now we need to texture these. We need to make them black because they are black plastic. First, I'm going to do the rods. The caps, we're going to make a little bit different. I'm going to come down into the materials. I'm going to create a new material, and I'm going to call this WS Plastic. I'm going to make this a diff.spec. I'm going to add vertex colors to all. I'm going to come down here and click the default UV map for it. And then I'm going to navigate. You remember that black thing I made earlier? Black plastic targa? That's what we're going to use for this. So now we have the black plastic. Let me go ahead and create the TOBJ. So I'm going to click that. You repeat. V-repeat. The rods are a bit too shiny for my taste. I do want them to be slightly shiny. So I'm going to come up here to the specular. And I'm going to come down to, I'll make it 0.75. to be precise. So they're still, no, you know what? Let's make it 0.5. 0.5. There it is. Yeah. So they're a bit shiny, like they're plastic, but they're not like glass. These wall scrolls always come with cheap plastic, let me tell you. So we've got this kind of shine here. That's great. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the plugs, and I'm going to make a new material. This is going to be WS rubber. So wall scroll rubber, diff spec, add vertex colors to all, do my map, navigate to that texture, black plastic. Because that texture now already has a TOBJ, you'll notice it doesn't have the plus thing. That's fine. And it's already set to UV repeat because we did that already. You're probably thinking, well, we're using the same texture. Why did I have to create a new material? Because I'm going to make this 0.25 for the shininess. I want it to be a lot more dull. In fact, I'm going to go even, let's go 0.15. There it is. So it has a little bit of a sheen to it, but that looks more like rubber as compared to the plastic strip. These are the rubber caps to go on there. You see that? So we're sharing the same texture for the color, but now we have two different material looks using that same texture. Guys, you made it to the end of this episode. You've just created the wall scroll. Now, we aren't ready to put this in the game quite yet. I highly suggest saving, by the way, if you haven't already. Let's go. Actually, that was probably way too long for me not to save. I need to start encouraging you guys to save more. Episode 3. So this is my episode 3.blend. So there it is. There's our wall scroll. It is good to go. In the next episode, I'm going to show you guys how to import pieces from the game in order to scale and position this. And in that episode, we will also export it and make it playable in the game. So you're basically halfway done with this wall scroll pretty much. The hard half was creating it. Now we get to play around with it and position it and turn it into a mod. So I'll see you in the next episode, guys. When we do that, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, guys. See you in episode 4.